Okay, so OBS is like how you get to Twitch. So like it live streams on Twitch. Nice show.
Let me put that on my notes. What is it? OB what?
OBS. So it's open broadcast software. So for streaming on Twitch, okay, essentially will connect you so you can stream like live on your Twitch page.
I thought about Twitch from the basketball training perspective, but I didn't think it would work out.
I mean, I think that there's just so many. That's kind of just the right kid is using it. So and I don't think much of that stuff exists there.
Basketball stuff, yeah,
yeah, like just training. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of it's on YouTube, obviously.
Right.
But, this platform is obviously really big too, and it's like.
So I'm guessing Twitch is basically you can see what I'm doing, like an IG live type of thing.
Yeah, essentially it's like you can connect it so that whatever you're doing on your monitor, or you can PlayStation, you can direct it right through through the PlayStation online, where it'll just whatever you're playing on your screen will just be live stream on Twitch. So
I think that's quite amazing.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's a whole new world where you legitimately press stream and you're out there to everyone, and it's just anyone can tune in, and these big streamers have hundreds of thousands of people watching.
I know some guy made him $1 million or something. Who's that guy that made $1 zillion?
Ninja.
Ninjas. So I got to keep the people young around.
Yeah,
you know what's going on.
Yeah, Ninja definitely was really great for esports. It brought it right to
mainstream.
Exactly. Everyone's talking about Ninja and Drake, and it's I remember that next day, my mom and her friends were talking about, oh, what's this Fortnite thing? I'm that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. This
really?
Gaming. Yeah, I've been doing esports for probably the last 3 years now, because I've kind of really identified that as a unique area to expand into, and noticed there really weren't that many people, professionals especially,
right,
that knew what they were doing, that were involved in it. So I kind of saw a nice area to kind of come in and make it my own.
Yeah, that's smart. Are you on the front end of the cusp as far?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably about 3 or 4 other people that I would say they're the dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So but they're my age. So it's
right.
It's not in the music or sports world where the people that are my dad and older have been doing this for 30
years. Old people. Right.
Yeah, it's you've been doing this for 30, 40 years. Obviously, you're going to have Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson and Maroon 5 and all these megastars. But because, esports in itself is so new, the professionals around it are, my dad, has been a lawyer for 30 years, isn't going to learn about esports and games. It's just not going to be part of.
That's not his shtick.
Exactly. Whereas, me, who's kind of gamed and is involved in it, it just makes sense because, like you said, we're the youth. We're much more in touch with what's going on and what games people are playing.
Yeah,
and,
that's true. We're old now.
And the practice. Yeah, but you need that too. I see the value in, someone who kind of has that, fatherly kind of when they get on the phone, it's okay, this is business time. And my clients, I have to go to the principal now. They equate it. Okay,
you're in trouble.
Exactly. You're not listening to me. Let me get someone else in here.
All right, I guess we can officially start now. I don't know if you guys have been really filming the whole time.
Some B-roll.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm Mark Williams, and we're here with the MECCA podcast, and we're doing something different for you guys today. We're going to go non-traditional, quote unquote, and we're going to attack the esports world. So I reached out to a couple people, and they came up with the guy I need to hit up, Justin Jacobson, and we're here in Manhattan, across from the Empire State Building, in one of these fancy offices, and we're going to talk about esports, its impact, and what kind of impact it's having on the the ecosystem within basketball sports as a whole. So thank you and welcome to our podcast. Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be able to talk about this stuff. Yeah, because not so many people, and then I'm going to use traditional and non-traditional phrases, because I'm a traditional basketball guy, and I'm guessing most of the people that are in the esports maybe played basketball, but they find their niche in the esports world. And we don't know nothing about each other. I want to bridge the gap. Not that I can, but tell me what makes esports so unique and a big time business as it is right now. I mean, so esports is just professional video gaming. It's individuals competing against other ones, whether they're part of a team or just by themselves. Games like Overwatch, Fortnite, League of Legends, Call of Duty.
And, these gamers now are at the professional level where some of them are earning millions of dollars and some are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars from salaries and prize pools and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's kind of this kind of social stigma and perception about, gamers as, these guys are sitting in their basement playing World of Warcraft.
Right.
The popular South Park episode that kind of gives
it.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of gives everyone their impression. But really, nowadays at this top level, these players have professional trainers, they have nutritionists, they have mental coaches, they have actual player coaches and analysts that review game footage, look at the data, and really kind of help them.
Right.
Which is what traditional athletes have.
Right. I've seen it. I watched a documentary, and they actually highlighted that they have mental coaches, nutritionists, and they just basically are guys. I guess the teams are in a home together, and they just working out, playing throughout the whole day.
Yeah,
that can be like. Do they get like carpal tunnel injuries and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of stuff, with your wrist, your eyes. So a lot of it's, your finger movement, your dexterity. How quick you are to respond. And interesting enough, Esports was a feature on ESPN Sports Science where they actually sat down and rated one of these League of Legends players, pole belter, to kind of learn how his quickness and precision. And they kind of noticed that he had a really high rate of ocular movement, how quickly he's able to scan the computer screen and react to what's going on. And, that's something that's, pretty similar to, say, professional quarterback in the NFL that needs to quickly scan the field, see who's open, see where the linebacker's coming, and this all happens in an instant.
Right.
And, that instant between being able to identify something and not is the difference between you completing a pass or not, or you getting a kill in the game or not.
Right.
And realistically, these guys, their schedule, they're playing from, 8 to 10 hours a day. And when they're boot camping, getting ready for a big tournament or league, they're doing even longer, where they wake up, have breakfast, game till lunch, have lunch, game till dinner, have dinner, game till sleep, and then just repeat. And it, like you said, there's a lot of wear and tear from these stress, repetitive injuries, and while you might not blow out a knee playing game, if, you dislocate a thumb or you just, start having pain in your wrists, or some people have problems with their retinas from staring at the screen for so many hours, that can really impact you. Now,
you mentioned a game that kind of went mainstream that got outside of the esports ecosystem, and that was Fortnite. That became like part of the pop culture. What made Fortnite so different, and then how did that impact the ecosystem, and did it bridge the gap between the two?
Fortnite was kind of a godsend to what was going on. It really kind of brought the game and the gaming community to front and center. For those who didn't know, Ninja, who's a pretty popular gamer, ended up streaming with Drake and Juju Smith-Schuster and I think Travis Scott, and they all ended up just playing Fortnite for hours and ended up being the largest Twitch stream ever. And then the next day, every news outlet was reporting on, Drake playing with Ninja and who's this Ninja guy.
Right.
And, you have parents and grandparents seeing it on the news because this was like, a cutting edge thing that like the whole mainstream media is like waking up to this esports thing. And, I think that a really nice thing that it did was it really kind of helped validate some of the investments that some of these traditional sports business guys are doing.
Yeah, can you touch upon that? Because I know that Mark Cuban he's always been a front person as far as technology is concerned. He's actually invested a lot into esports, and particularly the basketball component. Can you touch upon that real quick?
Yeah, so Mark Cuban, as you mentioned, is an investor in Unicron, which is a esports betting site, as well as he has Mavs Gaming, which is part of the NBA 2K League.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, so in addition, some of his other colleagues, like, the Kroenke family who own the Rams and the Nuggets, the Wilpons who own the Mets, the Crafts that own Patriots, the Lakeham family who own the Warriors, they all have, invested in esports. Like the Warriors, they own the Golden Guardians, which is a League of Legends team. The Bucks co-owner owns his own League of Legends team.
Right.
And, the Patriots owner has an Overwatch League team. So these guys have invested, millions, if not, $50 million to build these programs and to be involved in these leagues.
Now, approximately 3 years ago, something happened that was tremendous as far as esports is concerned. You guys partnered, and I say you guys because you're representing a lot of people that's involved in the esports world. Partnered with the NBA, and that this is the first time the New York team actually won something in the last 2 billion years. Can you tell me a little bit about, or tell our watchers and listeners about exactly what happened 3 years ago?
So pretty much the NBA and Take-Two Interactive, which is the developer for their NBA 2K video game, entered into a partnership to create the NBA 2K League. And what this is, exactly what it sounds like. It's a league where right now there are 23 teams, 22 of them are affiliated with NBA franchises.
Who's the one that's not?
So recently this year, a Shanghai team that's run by Gen G, which is a very well-known esports organization that Will Smith is an investor in, is going to be having the first international team. So they're going to be having a Shanghai team, but they're going to be this season housed in LA. And then supposedly next season, there may be some China hometowns. So this league is a 5-on-5 live in-studio experience where each individual person is controlling a different player. One person's the point guard, one person's the center, and you're playing live against another team. And what's nice is that, these gamers all live in market. So if you're on the Lakers, you live in LA and you fly to New York to play, and
so they travel like a real team.
Yeah, so they're like the Miami team is in Miami during the week, and then fly up to New York for the games on the weekends. And recently they've been doing a few different tournaments. They did one in Vegas, one in Orlando, but most of the games happen here in New York.
And how many months is the season? Is it a full season?
So it's pretty much about like a half year, 6-month thing, and they make anywhere between $35,000 to $37,000 as a base, plus incentives for prize money and health insurance and 401k.
Okay, let's not leave that, because that upset the basketball world, because they're making more money
than the G League,
and the WNBA. Some of the WNBA players. What was the backlash on the salary?
I mean, there definitely was some public outrage when they announced the first season salary. But at the end of the day, it all kind of comes down to economics. If you in the G League use a WNBA are only generating or losing, because we know that most of those teams don't really generate money, versus something that actually is making money, or you get these league-wide sponsorships, you get these team-wide sponsorships.
Right.
So if you're able to budget that you feel comfortable paying this amount to 110 players or whatever it is,
it makes sense.
That's business. And what's nice about the NBA 2K League is that everything's streamed on Twitch, which is interesting because the NBA has actually further expanded their reach with Twitch. They have G League games televised on it, and they're also going to be having some USA men's, national basketball and some of the women's national basketball team.
Now, do you think that that's going to, obviously you mentioned it help the NBA branch off into a different market. Is that going to further advance NBA basketball into different countries as far as China, Japan, Korea, Asia, wherever, all of Asia?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the fact that you can just get it instantly on demand from anywhere on your computer or your smartphone will really kind of make it more accessible. And, while I don't think Twitch is available in China, Tencent, which is a huge Chinese, entertainment conglomerate, probably has some streaming deal. I know they entered into a deal with the NBA 2K League to televise their games. So there's definitely ways that Twitch can be used to bridge into these other countries.
There's no other way other than Twitch to watch these games?
So right now the 2K League is on Twitch, and then Season 2 they added to YouTube. So you can watch the game live on YouTube or on Twitch.
Okay. That's kind of dope.
Yeah, it definitely was meant to kind of grasp the market of the people that are just watching on YouTube and then people that are watching on Twitch.
Now, Twitch is a relatively new phenomenon also. How did that blast off?
Well, Twitch is owned by Amazon, so when you have a company like that, it really helps amplify everything that you're doing. And what Twitch is, it's a live streaming platform where you can literally have an account and connect it to your computer or to your gaming system and stream what you're playing, what's on your screen. And, Twitch is primarily video games, but there's also, in real life streams where people are painting or writing a song or DJing live or just answering questions from the chat. So it's really evolved into this platform where any influencer or any individual can really use it to interact with the world, interact with their fans.
Now, what's your role? Because you mentioned that you're representing, as a lawyer, you're representing a couple of people with involved in the esports world. How's that been going for you as far as breaking down boundaries and also barriers that's established within the regular ecosystem?
I mean, it's definitely, been a struggle. It's definitely been a lot of work trying to really explain to, especially the professional gamers. Most of them are pretty young, pretty inexperienced, especially, in the career and business world.
Right.
So to be able to explain to them, you do need someone maybe to look over your contract, someone who's in your corner that understands the business, understands, tax implications, and, all these other things that go into essentially being a businessman.
Right.
You go from playing in your basement or playing for these little tournaments online to being
fun.
Yeah, or no, it could be for a little bit of money, to being flown into New York every week on behalf of the Miami Heat and playing for, six-figure prize pools. Like the champions of the 2K League, they doubled their money. Pretty sure they each make $35K for winning it. So it's like you get your $35K salary, and then for winning the championship, you get another $35K.
Wow.
So, some of these kids made near six figures depending on how well their team did in these tournaments.
And you would help them navigate through the whole process as far as sponsorship,
contract review, making sure if they're a foreign citizen to get visas to come over to play here, and really just kind of any legal or business matter that they need.
Yeah, I think that's pretty astounding because, again, from the traditional basketball world, this is all new. This is completely new.
But it's a no-brainer to have agents and attorneys. Since they're 10 years old, agents have been recruiting most of these basketball.
And where do they find them?
The game. I mean, a lot of it is from the ranking ladders, and just a lot of my best clients are kind of from referrals of other players. Whether you're meeting them out somewhere or someone else they know in the industry refers to different writers.
Right.
And bloggers and just different people that work for, say, a team. They say, hey, you should probably get a lawyer to look over this 30-page contract.
Yeah.
Right? And you're obviously.
A little bigger than mom and dad.
But, it's not that common or obvious to a lot of these kids. And, sometimes the cost up front might seem prohibitive, but in the long term, if you don't do things properly or you sign somebody that maybe you don't fully understand it, you could really jam yourself up.
Right. Now, I know that they're selling, and people are getting sponsorship deals for shirts, merch, shirts is a hoodie, but clothing, chairs, and all type of apparel. Is that something that you would obviously help them in?
Yeah, so, in addition, trying to find different brand partnerships and sponsorships. And what's really nice is, as esports continue to get mainstream, you have a bunch of professional athletes actually investing in teams. Heavyweights like Magic Johnson and Shaq and Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant and Curry and, these blue chip top level athletes, Odell Beckham Jr. And it's kind of led to brands that are just within the gaming space wanting to work with professional athletes that are authentic and game for their love.
Right.
Everyone knows Juju Smith-Schuster, so he got a deal with HyperX, which is a really popular headset company, and they also have Joel Embiid and Gordon Hayward as ambassadors.
So what, do they make their own headsets, and is the Juju's signature line?
There might be, and just more of a hey, I'm a HyperX guy, take a picture in it, and more of a way to just kind of expose the brand to their fan. Because if you're a basketball fan, what do you know about gaming headsets? Probably not that much. But if you see Joel Embiid and Gordon Hayward and people wearing it, that's probably what you're going to go when you see it in the store.
Right, definitely. And again, that's bridging the gap between the traditional basketball and the non-traditional. And I think that's big, and that's why it's important to have you on this podcast, because everything centers here in New York. Not everything, but for the most part.
I consider it the center of the world.
Yeah, but for the most part, New York is can you consider New York the Mecca of esports? basketball wise?
I mean, I would say that probably LA is the is like in the U.S. where esports is predominantly, that's where a lot of the developers are.
Valley
yeah, exactly. Stuff, right, so a lot of the Blizzards and the Riots and all the people that actually make the games are over there. So a lot of the infrastructure is there. But in terms of the entertainment industry in general, I do feel that New York is the only place where you have music, sports, fashion, art,
all in one,
all kind of working off of each other. And you can never go to Fashion Week and not see musicians and athletes.
Right.
Same way you can't go to a record release party and not see athletes and fashion designers. So it's like in New York, everyone that's in this creative world kind of interacts and works off each other.
So we're gonna call it the Mecca.
I'm there. I'm a New Yorker born and bred, so you got no arguments here.
New York is the Mecca as far as esports is concerned, particularly basketball, particularly because
the East Coast Mecca of esports.
I like that. Chicago being, the divider.
Yes, East Coast, we'll take it.
The first year, the inaugural year, who won the championship? See what I'm saying? So
I was proud to say that the Knicks gaming squad won Season 1 of the NBA 2K League. And a nice side note, Jerry Ferrara, our favorite Entourage and Power actor, is actually the head scout for the Knicks gaming. So he was at a lot of the games. Like when they won the finals, he was going crazy. Like he was having just such a great time.
What do you mean scout? Like he goes and watches what kids?
Yeah, like he was scouting the players that they were drafting and interviewing them and being part of the whole draft process.
Wow.
I know. At first I thought he was just going to be a figurehead.
Yeah.
But then more I talked to him and I saw that he had a real passion for it and knew all the kids and knew their games and really was taking it seriously.
Did you ask him anything about Power and how he got shot up?
I mean, well, at that point, he was still.
He was still important.
Yeah, he was still, Proctor being a lawyer.
Being a lawyer. He's a New York guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's New York, but I think he's based out of California.
Is he now? Yeah, he sold out, went out to the West Coast.
I mean, if you're in TVs and movie, you
got to kind of be out there.
Exactly.
Now, what's next as far as esports work, but the basketball component more so, because you're entering, the year 3?
Yeah, this is about to be the 3rd year of 2K League, and, I think the biggest thing is to see how, the international angle flows. Is the Shanghai team and Gen G going to be able to tap into the market? I know there's 26 million NBA 2K users in China. How do the idea is to get a percentage of that somehow, and you change your numbers drastically. You get a half of a percentage of that. An extra 100,000, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the biggest thing, to see how China comes into play. And this past, I think it was January, they actually did a tournament in London to try to find the best European players.
Was that sponsored by a big sponsor?
Yeah, so they have HyperX and their usual sponsors.
Right.
But essentially, the 2K League hosted it, invited I think 20 or 25 of the best European players to compete in this tournament, and a bunch of the team scouts flew over to watch, and the winning team, their MVP, was in the draft pool, and it really gave them an opportunity to scout these players and see what they're like on the stage and in this competitive environment.
Now, is the draft similar to the regular quote-unquote NBA draft, where the teams that finish on the lower end will get the first pick?
Yep, same thing. They did a lottery with to see who gets the first pick, and for the top 10, the same as the NBA, and they have a whole combine process where you go through it, and based on what your statistics are, you make it to the final draft pool, and then you get interviewed by all the teams, and then it's like an actual draft where the first season was at Madison Square Garden. This past season was at the Barclays Center. And it was the first pick in by Utah Jazz. And the kid comes up on the stage and shakes the hand like the commissioner. And,
really?
And yeah, and it's
So they're mimiking the NBA and what they've done over the years.
And Season 1, Adam Silver actually read the first pick. So he came to read, officially, first pick of the first season.
First round. And who was that?
It was Dimes. That boy Dimes by the Mavs.
Is he good?
He's good. They call him the LeBron James of 2K. I'm sure there's some people that would, dispute that, but, he definitely is good.
Oh, wow. Again, I'm in the real basketball world, quote-unquote traditional. Never heard of him.
Well, you know,
that's why I'm here with you.
Yeah, Zach. I don't think that he's made a mark in the mainstream basketball world. But you know, who knows? I think that that's another thing that the league is going to look at is how do you get traditional basketball fans, or maybe people like maybe you and some other people that we play the basketball game. Like I've always played 2K with me and my friends. Maybe not on the competitive level that these kids are at, but like we always load up and you know whatever it is, you're always getting the new 2K.
Which brings me to one of my favorite shows of all time is Ballers on The Rock, and that's why I really got exposed to it. I mentioned it earlier off camera. The Terrell Suggs, right? Was that him?
Well, I think Vernon Carey.
Vernon Carey. His character was he threatened his friend that he was going to leave football to become an esports guy. He had his own team and everything like that. Is that traditional, or is that just like something that...
Funny that you say that. Actually, yesterday, Jay Ajayi, the former running back for the Eagles just announced that he's going to be leaving football to be a professional gamer for a Philadelphia Fusion team.
Now, he's going to be a gamer itself or the owner of the team?
No, like a gamer. Like what you were saying Vernon was saying, where like he was not... You know, obviously he kind of got signed at the end of the year, so he's near the end of his playing days, but essentially he's going to start training and pursuing to be a professional gamer.
Wow.
And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I hear Gordon Hayward's amazing.
Really?
Like he could probably be a professional gamer if he wanted.
He had enough time when he was injured like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and, you know, and like that's all he does in his free time. And, you know, I think that it's just going to continue to evolve that way where, you know, maybe you blow out your knee and you can't play anymore, but you still have these really great motor skills and this high IQ. And it's funny, a bunch of the players in the actual 2K league, you know, are former AAU or college recruits who, you know, blew out their knee or had some catastrophic injury where they just can't play anymore. But, you know, they're still athletic and they still have this really high IQ and competitive nature. And, you know, if you go to the league, you could see it. Like, there's a lot of trash talking. Like, they really kind of bark at each other from across the room, and it gets intense. Like, there was a fight last year.
Really?
Like, straight up after the fight, I mean, it was on Bleacher Report and, you know, Barstool Sports. Everyone picked up on it. Like, when they went to shake hands, like, one kid, like, wouldn't shake his hand, so one kid pushed him, and it just turned into, like, kind of like a melee. And, like, I was there live, so, like, after the camera panned off, it was still going on in the corner. Like, they're, like, holding this kid back and stuff. And I'm like, video game.
Yeah.
Relax.
It's not that serious.
And because, like, what was happening is, like, one kid from the crowd was, like, chirping and taunting the kid all game. So he just kind of got in his head, which goes back to the original point of the mental coaches. Like, one of the hardest things is being able to kind of keep that mental edge and to keep your head in the game when maybe things aren't going so well or... You know, you're getting blown out, and you got to keep your cool because you're a professional now. If you're getting blown out in your basement, maybe you're throwing the controller or you're just quitting. You can't do that when you're getting a check from the NBA.
That's crazy because the same thing happens in real traditional. People get in your head and they just mess your whole game. That's Pat Beverly's whole life. That's what he does for a living.
Right, and Bruce Bowen.
Bruce Bowen.
Those Ron Artest, those cerebral guys.
All those defensive stoppers. So what's next for you as far as your business is concerned and helping the esports sportsers?
I'm really kind of focused on the educational side of esports and trying to help, you know, the next generation, the youth, the high school and the college development. There's a whole huge college scene that's been sprouting up, and, you know, schools are starting to really take it seriously and see it as a unique way to maybe entice kids. Like, hey, we have a world-class esports program, or we have these classes on it, and, you know, they've been mentioning that when they go to these college fairs, a lot of kids have been asking, oh, do you offer this kind of stuff? Like, do you think this is going to be something you're going to offer?
No, I can attest to that because during my research part, I ended up in a rabbit hole. You know, once you're on Twitter and or Instagram,
the internet is great.
You end up in a rabbit hole. I'm seeing colleges having esports teams. Whether Stanford has a pretty good esports team, I think Michigan has a pretty. I'm not gonna say all the big schools, but most of the big schools have those type of programs, and the kids are taking it just as serious as traditional, and they're really going hard, and that's a great ploy for colleges to attract more players and also students to the school. Yeah,
and it also gives you the opportunity to kind of continue to build your brand. Like, I know I just saw that University of Oklahoma has like a shoutcasting program. Like, they're teaching people how to be announcers for video games. Like, specifically, that is a program that exists at a Big 12 major school where you can go to become a shoutcaster, which is like the specific, it's like kind of the color commentator for esports. And, you know, they're shouting on the mic is kind of the concept.
Now, if I look at you crazy, it's because I've never heard that in my life.
I mean, I just stumbled onto this last week, and I was just blown. My mind was blown that a university of that caliber sees this for what it could really be.
Right.
And understands that maybe right now it's just kind of developing, but 5 years from now, when all of these kids have grown up with esports and Fortnite and Twitch as part of their everyday life, it's going to be part of it.
Which is a good segue, because recently I looked at the NBA traditional all-star ballots, and Luka and players that have a big younger person presence, they're actually winning as far as the votes are concerned right now. Luka's number 1 right now. Giannis is number 2, and then LeBron, who's old school now, right? At 35, he's old school. Those guys are trumping all the other players because they're getting a lot of online votes. And as you grow up, the esports people are going to grow up also. And they're going to be the ones that actually play basketball and traditional sports, for lack of a better phrase. Is that the move? Like, is your demographic 18 to 18?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, middle school, high school age is like the sweet spot. Like, you know, that's when you're really still kind of within your friends, and you don't have some of, like, you know, when you get 18 in college, you're older, you maybe frat parties, club, you know, like your social,
more distraction.
Exactly, your social calendar kind of changes a little bit. But, you know, I remember when I was in middle school, like, friends would come over and you would just play Madden or 2K all night till you had to go to sleep.
Yep.
Then you would wake up and, you know, that's what
Repeat.
you would do.
Right.
Exactly. And I think that that's really the norm for, you know, most of the kids growing up today. Like, if you look in any restaurant or in any train, like, all you see is kids in an iPad, in a phone, like, and I'm pretty sure almost every parent just puts an iPad in front of their kid.
This is the new babysitter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here, let's watch your movie or your show.
Babysitter.
And, you know, 40 minutes later, they're still staring at the screen.
Yeah, they get mad at people taking it.
Yeah, like, so it's, you know, it's going to be something where maybe for me and you, watching people play video games is a hard concept to grasp. But, you know, I kind of analogy to when I used to go to, like, GameStop to buy the, like, How to Beat Mario 64 books, you know, like, or, you know, Game Genie on, like, do the codes. Well, now you go to YouTube to figure out how to do the dribble moves, you know, or how to beat a boss that you can't beat in a game, or...
That was me. I took the Tekken book. I was a big Tekken guy.
Yeah, so
PlayStation, like 1, though. Like
yeah, I was around for all that, you know. I went from Nintendo to Sega to N64, so... And it's like, this is where it is, where, like, if you want to learn how to play with a character, like, with 2K, they're always, like, release these new cards in my team. So, you know, gamers always put up, like, gameplay clips where you're seeing their different moves and their dribble moves and, you know, how to actually use these different characters properly.
Wow. I'm bewildered because it's so much beyond my scope, and I'm happy to actually get into that scope because it's something big, and I see it also, and I'm old. I'm 2 billion years old.
Well, you're in touch with what's going on, the pulse of the society.
Society, and particularly when it involves New York. I'm big into New York, represent New York. Well, we're here in the New York City area. You represented Dave?
No, we had a client that did an official remix of it. So nowadays they just kind of, you know, group streams, downloads, anything related in one.
Yeah. Hey, mama.
Exactly.
2 million sold.
Yeah, so it's a good one.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us in your office. I appreciate it. We're going to get back to this, and then hopefully we're going to reconvene in 3 or 4 years when esports is really taking over
when
mainstream.
The 2K Week finals at the Garden, packed house.
I can envision that, seriously. That's going to be fun, actually. Because it's going to be fun for me looking like I am right now. Like really, this is going on right now at the Garden?
When I first went to, like, the event, that was just, like, just blew my mind. Like, I was scrolling through channels one Saturday, and, like, I see on TBS Ely. I click on it, it's like kids are playing Street Fighter for $250,000. Right? Like, $250,000 for Street Fighter? Like, the game I used to play for $1 at the arcade? And it's just kind of like you said, I went down the rabbit hole and really started to explore what this is. Like, how can you afford to give away so much money? And then when you start seeing the brands behind it and, some of the investors and the level of investment, you start to really understand that, wow, these smart billionaires are spending millions of dollars on this.
Right.
And they obviously have the smart people in their corner that are advising them on this.
So they see the profit margins and the futures within the business in of itself.
Exactly. So if they're onto it, I'm definitely going to follow their lead.
I'm no dummy.
Exactly.
How hard I know we're supposed to end it, but how hard was it for you to convince your father, who's old school like me, to get into this realm?
He actually kind of gets it.
Really?
He's always been involved in hip hop when it was starting. We had one of the first computer games represented. So he had one of the first websites. We have always really kind of known technology and the internet and these new digital communications were going to be the future. And then when I started to show him the numbers,
right,
you just you can't really argue with that.
At first he was like, yeah, look, Dad, look.
Well, I always played video games and whatever, and so you look at it from that way. But then when you see, the guy who won the Fortnite solo made $3 million. A 16-year-old became a multi-millionaire overnight for playing Fortnite.
Wow.
Right? Imagine being 16 and just getting $3 million.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine how life would be different if you just had that.
Now, do they, because they're big on YouTube also, do they still they make a lot of money from YouTube and the views?
Yeah, if you're a streamer that gets thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views, you're making, pretty nice income.
Steady, that's steady.
Yeah, that's steady.
But you got to post all the time.
Yeah, no, you have to be consistent. Most of these guys are streaming probably every day for, till when they wake up till when they go to sleep. So it's like a full-time job to be a streamer.
Wow. I don't know if I have the intestinal fortitude.
But then again, it's like you're playing 2K for 6 hours, and you're making money for it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes better than reading contracts.
Oh, I can imagine that must be hell. But anyway, I'm here with Just. I'm gonna call you Just for today, all right? Just.
Why Just?
Just. Check him out. What's your socials?
Follow me on Twitter, Justin J ESQ. Check out jacobsonfirm.com, and we have lots of informative articles if you want to learn some more about the esports biz and any of the other stuff that we do. And yeah, my DMs are open, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
There we go. This has been another episode of the MECCA podcast, Esports edition. Hopefully you guys learned something, because I definitely did. Peace out. We out.
Peace.